I think you must have another chapter to reveal to us about the life of Theodore Roosevelt.
Exactly right, Uncle Dan.
Well, I just happened to think that when we left him in our last story, he had just led his Rough Riders up San Juan Hill in Cuba, which helped secure freedom from the Spanish rule for the Cuban people.
And do you remember that I mentioned his courage and bravery during that encounter had led to his being nominated for a Congressional Medal of Honor?
I do recall that.
Well, what I didn't tell you was that, at the time, the nomination was never acted upon by the War Department, and Teddy never received the medal.
You're kidding.
No, it seems that there may have been political reasons why the medal was denied him, but fortunately, the wrong was eventually made right.
I'm glad to hear that.
In fact, it was President Clinton who bestowed the coveted medal honoring Theodore more than 100 years later. On January 16, 2001, Teddy's great-grandson, Tweed Roosevelt, accepted the medal on behalf of the Roosevelt family.
That was a long time for the family to wait.
It was indeed. And when it was bestowed upon Teddy after his death, it made him the only United States president to have ever received such an honor.
Well, now wait a minute, Aunt Carol. So far we've heard about Teddy Roosevelt serving the city and state of New York and the United States in a number of ways, but president? I don't think you've told us anything about that yet.
You're right, of course, Uncle Dan. So how about I fix that right now?
Terrific idea. What do you call this story?
I call it The Youngest President. Within weeks of Theodore Roosevelt's return from Cuba, his name was already being tossed about as a possible candidate for the governorship of New York State. The colonel, as many now called Teddy, was enthusiastic about the possibility. But the state boss of the Republican Party, U.S. Senator Thomas C. Platt, a man whose influence dominated all party decisions, was put off by Teddy's independent streak, yet he saw the colonel as a candidate who could win. That would place a Republican in the governor's chair, something that Platt dearly wanted to see. Platt met with an associate, Chauncey Depew, to discuss the matter.
I tell you, Chauncey, I don't know about the colonel. He has a mind of his own, and I've even heard that the independents want him to run on their ticket for the governorship. Word is he's seriously considering the possibility.
I've heard that as well. But think about it, Tom. We certainly don't want Roosevelt running on any ticket other than the Republican ticket. He's famous. The people love him.
I know, but as I told Quigg, if we nominate him for governor, with that personality of his, sooner or later Roosevelt will have to be a candidate for president of the United States.
I don't know about that. But at least if anyone would ever question his integrity, we could say we've nominated a man who has proven time and time again to champion whatever is right and just. That's a reputation that our party is in dire need of at the moment.
Chauncey Depew, you are a persuasive fellow. I just hope that once we put him in office, he won't fight us, the very men who put him in there.
Later, Lemuel Quigg, one of Thomas Platt's party lieutenants, approached Teddy about Platt's reservations.
Mr. Quigg, you can tell Mr. Platt that I do not intend to make war on him or anyone else in the party.
You would confer with Platt and the party, then, on important matters, on appointments?
Certainly. I shall always strive to ensure the harmony of opinion and purpose with the party. Of course, I must depend on my own judgment to always do what is right and good for the state and people of New York. I'm sure you understand that.
And so the matter was settled. Colonel Teddy Roosevelt would become the Republican nominee for governor. He launched into the campaign with the usual Roosevelt energy and drive. Traveling by train, flags and streamers flying, he whistle-stopped his way around the state, accompanied by a group of Rough Riders, one of whom sounded a bugle charge every time the train rolled to a stop.
Trumpet that sounded to bring you here. I have heard it tear the tropic dawn when it summoned us to fight at Santiago. From this time forward, we of the United States cannot avoid facing the fact that we occupy a new place among the peoples of the world. The guns of our warships in the tropic seas have wakened us to the knowledge of new duties. We want the Colonel!
Teddy's effect upon the crowds that came to see him was nothing short of magical. One newspaperman observed,
He spoke for about 10 minutes. The speech was nothing, but the man's presence was everything. It was electrical, magnetic.
Teddy's popularity propelled him into the office he sought, that of governor of New York. He was sworn in on January 2, 1899, a sub-zero day in Albany, so cold, in fact, that the trumpets of the escort froze and could not be sounded. However, the Roosevelts, seated in horse-drawn sleighs, were escorted to the Capitol to the sound of drum beats.
What a magnificent day. Bully weather. Are you warm enough, Edith, dear?
Ooh, as warm as a person could be when it's 6 below zero and one is swishing through 6 inches of new snow.
Ah, that's Albany for you. But soon enough, we'll be inside the assembly chamber. You and Alice will be with me on the platform, and the rest of the bunnies can watch me from the balcony.
I do hope they won't feel left out.
Don't worry about a thing. Before I take my oath, I shall blow them a kiss. They will know that their father has not forgotten them at such a moment. After this, I'm no doubt done with politics, but I'm determined to leave the children a legacy of which they can be forever proud.
Teddy immediately began working to fulfill campaign promises. He dealt with scandals and proposed reforms, and he cleverly dealt with Platt, offering him a short list of men qualified for each position and allowing the party boss to make the final choice. Meanwhile, Edith settled the family into the executive mansion, trying to make it as cheerful as possible. One room was converted into a schoolroom for the children, and guests to the mansion were often amused by the children's antics, and for that matter, those of Governor Roosevelt.
Father, hurry, help us escape. The Indians are on the North Hill.
Aha! There is no escape then. No way for my children to be saved.
We'll be captured. Papa, help us.
I see. Well, a father cannot allow his children to be captured by Indians. What can we do?
I know. I'll get a rope.
Excellent idea, Ted.
I'll be right back.
Gifford Pinchot to see you, Governor.
Ah, Gifford, come in. You've arrived just in time.
Governor?
Children,
Hello!
you've met my bunnies, yes?
Oh, yes. Kermit?
Hello, sir.
Ethel? Nice to see you again, my girl.
Hello.
And little Archie.
Hello. Did you know the Indians are coming?
Indians, you say?
Uh-huh. A whole big band of them.
And there's nothing to do, I'm afraid, but to make sure my children escape.
I see.
Here's the rope.
Rope? Yes, Mr. Pinchot, the means of escape. Now, children, quickly, to the window. All right, now, it's open. Mr. Pinchot, if you will make toe loops at the end of that rope for the younger children, I'll begin lowering the older ones. Quickly now, time is of the essence.
Yes, sir, Colonel. Governor?
All right, you first, Ted. You're the oldest, and you can help the others once you're down.
Yes, sir, Father.
Hold on tight now. It's a ways down. We're on the second floor, you know. Down you go. You next, Kermit. Here, get a good grip. And hurry. The war hoops are getting closer. There we are, Gifford.
All safe, are they?
I believe so. Everybody all right down there?
Yes, Father. Thank you, Papa.
Well, Gifford, it appears we have saved 4 children this morning. Fortunately, baby Quentin was in no danger. Escape by rope might have been a bit difficult for a 1-year-old.
Indeed.
Anyway, now let's see if we can figure out a way to save some of the natural resources of the state of New York.
During the governorship of Teddy Roosevelt, a number of important issues arose, and his skillful dealings with big business, labor unions, the legislature, the party, and the average citizen were all directed by moderation and a desire to foster the common good for all. In the process, of course, he tangled with various elements, not the least of which was party boss Platt, who was a constant source of irritation.
Dearest, the paper this morning reports that you've had another hotel breakfast with Platt. They say you are his puppet.
If they'd bother to find the truth, Edith, my dear, they'd know that I only breakfast with him when I see a clash coming. It's my way of trying, courteously and frankly, to bring him around to my way of thinking. Actually, my breakfasts with him are a signal of warfare.
And yet he wants to recommend you to run as McKinley's vice president in the upcoming national election.
I know, because what he really wants is to get rid of me in New York politics. He hopes that by elevating me to a higher position, he won't have to deal with me any longer. But I'm not in the least bit interested. The vice president has almost nothing to do. I like action.
Well, dearest, since you do like action, as you say, and if I don't miss my guess, you'd like to run again for the governorship of the state of New York.
You are exactly right, my dear. Exactly right.
Although Teddy Roosevelt was eager to avoid being nominated for vice president, a position made open by the death of McKinley's previous vice president, Garrett A. Hobart, his name repeatedly surfaced as the favorite candidate. Behind the scenes, Platt continued to promote the idea, even though Mark Hanna, National Republican Party chairman, complained that by so doing he would put that cowboy, as he called Roosevelt, but a heartbeat from the presidency. However, Teddy's fame and popularity did as much to keep him in the public view as any plots or plans by the party bosses. Teddy spoke to his friend Cabot Lodge about the situation.
Cabot, I tell you, I'm determined to avoid the position.
But, Teddy, this is an opportunity to...
To what? To sit as a figurehead over the Senate? You know that's not like me. I'm a comparatively young man. I like to work.
Be that as it may, it would put you in place for the presidency in 4 years.
I'll moulder away in 4 years. Put me in as Secretary of War. I'd even be willing to serve as the governor over the newly acquired Philippines, but vice president? I would greatly rather be anything, say a professor of history, than vice president.
President McKinley let it be known that he would let the delegates at the Republican convention choose his running mate. Teddy was serious about not wanting the position, but he was also a shrewd politician. He knew that if he were nominated, he would need to accept in order not to sabotage his political future. On June 19, 1900, the convention opened. The gavel pounded the delegates to order.
Ah, so we begin. That's Mark Hanna at the podium.
The closest thing we Republicans have to a national party boss.
The Republican Convention in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania will come to order!
Hey, look there, it's Teddy Roosevelt.
Making a rather grand entrance, I'd say.
Looking every inch the Rough Rider in that hat.
Teddy, we want Teddy! Teddy, Teddy, we want Teddy! Teddy, Teddy, we want Teddy!
It was inevitable. The convention unanimously nominated Theodore Roosevelt as vice president to run alongside President McKinley. Amidst frenzied cheers, campaign buttons that had been produced ahead of time suddenly appeared on the convention floor with McKinley Roosevelt emblazoned upon them. Enthusiasm ran high, and Teddy agreed to accept the nomination. During the campaign that followed, McKinley made speeches from his front porch in Canton, Ohio, just as he had during his previous run. But Teddy seemed to be everywhere.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Roosevelt campaigns in Wyoming.
Get your paper here. Utah loves Teddy. Read all about it.
Teddy ain't running, he's galloping. Get your paper here.
In all, Teddy's campaign travels took him on a cross-country journey of more than 2,000 miles. Impressive crowds gathered in the good weather and bad to see their hero and cheer him towards election. In the end, the McKinley-Roosevelt ticket won by a large majority. On Inauguration Day, March 4, 1901, the first inauguration in the 20th century, Theodore Roosevelt took his oath of office as Vice President of the United States. Later that evening,
Well, Edith, my dear, today was quite the day.
You were wonderful, dearest. You looked so dignified, and everyone could hear every word you spoke perfectly. But I was afraid it was going to end in disaster.
Oh?
Yes. The children nearly fell over the railing with excitement when you entered the chamber.
I see.
We're all so proud of you. I do hope you won't, dislike being vice president. Too much, anyway.
My dear, I am perfectly reconciled to the idea. Even if it does seem but a stepping stone to oblivion. And even
what?
Even if the job has been described as presiding over the Senate and asking every morning if the president is in good health.
Dearest, really.
But seriously, this is an exciting time for our country. America is still a young nation, but now we wield both great power and great privilege in the world.
as it turned out, the Senate met for only a few days before recessing. During the downtime, Teddy considered resuming his study of law so that he might go into practice when his term as vice president expired. Later, the family spent their summer at Sagamore Hill, and in the fall, both President McKinley and Teddy began speaking tours. September 6th found Teddy in Vermont and the president at the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, New York, accompanied by his secretary, George Cortelyou.
Ah, there you are, George.
Sir,
Amazing spectacle, is it not? The entire exposition? A festival, really, and a true tribute to progress in our time in the Western Hemisphere.
Yes, sir, but
In just a minute, the doors will open here at the Exposition's Temple of Music, and I shall be able to shake hands personally with many of our citizens. A wonderful opportunity to meet the
Sir,
people...
Mr. President.
Yes, George, what is it?
Sir, this reception.
Yes?
It's just that, Mr. President, there is no security in place. You will be completely exposed.
No.
I fear for your safety, sir. You should call this reception off.
George, why should I? No one would want to hurt me.
A bit later, as President McKinley was nearly finished greeting a long line of well-wishers, a young man approached. A handkerchief was tied around his right hand as if he were injured, and he extended his left hand toward the president as if he wished to shake hands. McKinley responded by extending his hand, but as he did, the man, Leon Scholgus by name, raised his bandaged hand towards the president's vest. The handkerchief had hidden a revolver. 2 shots rang out. The president slumped into the arms of those nearby, and pandemonium broke loose.
Oh, my goodness!
Sir? Mr. President?
We have him! He won't get away! Give it to him, men! The coward!
Try to assassinate our president, will you? Boys.
Sir, what is it?
Go easy on him, boys.
President McKinley was rushed to surgery, and an emergency phone call informed Teddy of the situation. He hurried to Buffalo to be by the president's side and learned that one of the bullets had damaged the president's stomach, liver, and pancreas. However, just 4 days later, Mark Hanna pulled Teddy aside.
Theodore, I think we are safe in leaving the president now. He seems to be coming along nicely. And if we are seen leaving his side, the public will perceive that all is well.
He does seem to be doing well, doesn't he? But I know the doctors were concerned about gangrene setting in.
Fortunately, there's no sign of that. I'm going to issue a bulletin to the press that the president's condition is just glorious, and I'm going to return to Cleveland. You know the president is my dear friend, and I would never leave if I thought there were the slightest danger.
Understood. Well, then, I'll travel back north. Edith has taken the children to a camp in the Adirondacks for an outing, so I'll go there and join my family.
He's really recovering nicely then, dearest?
Yes, Edith, very well, I'm happy to say.
Father, why did they shoot the president?
Well, Ted, my boy, that's a good question. They say the man was an anarchist. That means he's against all forms of government, and the president represents our government.
Are they going to shoot you too, Papa?
Now, Archie, don't you worry about that. If I had been the one who had been shot, the gunman wouldn't have got away with it so easily. I'd have guzzled him first.
Oh, all right, children, time for bed. In the morning, your father has a hike up Mount Marcy planned with some of his friends, and we shall go on a lovely excursion of our own.
The next day was rainy, and Mount Marcy was wrapped in clouds. But Teddy and his party set out for the summit anyway. Later in the day, as they descended from the peak, they paused for a brief meal on a rocky outcropping. Just then, Teddy caught sight of a park ranger heading up the mountainside in their direction.
Sir, Mr. Roosevelt, a telegram for you.
Oh, this can't be good news.
Just as I feared.
What is it, Teddy?
The president has taken a turn for the worse. Young man, where's the nearest telephone?
At the Tahawas Club, sir.
The men rapidly hiked the 12 miles to the telephone, and a call confirmed that the president continued to deteriorate. Finally, Teddy knew that he must make the journey once again to the president's side, and a buckboard and driver were readied for a wild and dangerous journey down twisting mountain trails.
Faster, man, faster!
Here! There at the sheer drop-off!
I don't care. Faster, I tell you! Push ahead!
40 miles later, as dawn was breaking, Teddy reached the North Creek train station. A small group of citizens had gathered, along with Teddy's secretary, William Loeb, Jr., who wordlessly handed him a telegram from Secretary of State John Hay.
William, thank you. It says, the president died at 2:15 this morning. I need to get to Buffalo as soon as possible.
The train awaits you, sir. Your private car is ready.
That afternoon, Teddy arrived in Buffalo to pay his respects to the slain president and the McKinley family. Secretary of War Elihu Root spoke quietly to him.
I have been asked, on behalf of the cabinet of the late president, that you should proceed to take the constitutional office of the President of the United States.
I shall take the oath at once.
Shortly thereafter, at the home of Ainsley Wilcox, Judge John Hazel began the swearing-in proceedings.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Theodore Roosevelt.
I, Theodore Roosevelt.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend.
And will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States. And thus I swear.
And so Teddy Roosevelt, age 42, became the 26th President of the United States and the youngest man to have ever served. He said that it was a dreadful thing to come into the presidency in this way, but he took up the duties of the highest office with the same vigor and energy that had marked every facet of his life. In the process, he became one of the most popular and revered presidents the United States has ever known.
Wow, Aunt Carol, how fascinating. But I...
Yes, Uncle Dan?
I'm a little confused.
Oh?
I thought that John Kennedy was the youngest elected president of the United States.
Aha, you're exactly right. The youngest man elected as president. He was 43 years old. But Teddy came to the presidency at the age of 42, not by being elected to that office, but because of President McKinley's assassination.
Oh, I understand now. Teddy was elected as vice president, but he did become president at a younger age than John Kennedy.
That's correct.
Very interesting. I hope we're not done with our series on Teddy Roosevelt's life.
Oh, no, we have more exciting stories to come. Stories you won't want to miss, full of amazing feats and wild adventure.